but you can't.
I can share as many babes as you can handle, which is like 0.
That is
I know,
correct.
I know, I know.
Ugh, babes. Yeah, I can't roll my R's. Like, not even close. My kids can.
Can they?
Yeah, it's annoying.
Yeah, well, get over that. I mean, there's so many things that your kids are going to be able to do that you can't do.
No.
You don't accept that?
That's the one thing they can do that I can't do.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that resonates with me, Josh. Can we do a survey of the children?
No.
No. Can't talk to the kids. They don't exist.
Right.
No.
They
No.
aren't here this week. Sorry. They're not around.
No. How about next? I'll come down. You know that would be an interesting sort of project for me. Tell me about your day. Tell me
Yeah.
about your dad.
Yeah. No.
No?
No.
No.
I mean,
Skeletons in the closet? Yeah, there.
think
Oh man,
about
the dirt.
when your daughter and
Oh,
I were on the
Rhiannon.
same
Yeah,
podcast,
yeah,
right? And that was,
yeah.
I'm not going to let that happen to me.
She was she I think children, this is all kids, they really relish roasting their parents, right?
Yeah.
It's something that makes them happy.
Yes.
It's like happy, happy, happy. Yeah,
Yes.
I know.
All those decades of oppression.
Yeah, exactly. An open wallet.
Well, yeah, there's that
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yes. Yes.
What is the cost per kid now, the projections?
I don't know. I remember hearing a joke probably a couple decades ago where it was basically a Lamborghini,
Oh my yeah.
and so
I think it's upwards of maybe
you, yeah,
$500,000 or something like
I
that.
would
Taking it
imagine it's,
from birth to college,
yeah.
right? Through
Hmm.
college or something. Do you know, I was looking at colleges the other day, like, Ivy League just generally, like an Ivy League Duke,
Right.
Ivy
Yeah.
League schools, Cornell, they're in the 90K a year, plus or
Yeah.
minus.
Yeah.
That's standard 90K. Josh, that's almost $400,000 for 4 years.
I
Can
I know,
you
Robert.
can you imagine?
No.
I who can do that? I couldn't do that. I mean, I'd have to sell the farm. I'd have to sell, Gallinis
You have to sell the
in
farm you
the
don't have.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know. It's a staggering amount.
It's absolutely. And the student debt coming out of that, if people can't, maybe they're getting like financial aid and stuff, but they're still
And why
what is
has
it?
the price gone up?
I mean, I think it's prestige. I mean, I'm sure there's cost, but how can you have a university, Apple's, I mean, a good university, UNC
Hmm.
is a good example, right? UNC is a pretty prestigious organization, and then compare them to Duke.
Well, but it's part of the public school system, right? It's part of the UNC.
Still,
Yeah.
still, I don't
Well,
know.
yeah.
I'd love to see the financials and stuff, but I don't know.
I don't
Enough of
know.
that. What do we?
Yes.
But maybe they build a brand. Maybe Duke has built a brand
You're saying they're
th-
making money just off of their brand?
just off their brand. Well, no,
Wow.
isn't that what? So I'm watching Suits. That
Yeah.
there's a show Suits, lawyers, and this one law firm in New York in the series only hires people from Harvard,
Mm.
and that's one of their shticks. Is we only hire Harvard law grads,
Yeah.
right? And do that, and that's a branding thing for them. I know it's not real, it's a
Right.
drama, but at the
Yeah.
same time, that's an example. Duke. So I wonder how much of that cost is just for those four magical letters, DUKE, right?
Yep.
Or
Yep.
or and maybe nothing. Maybe there's something else behind the scenes, but
Yeah.
I wonder if it's a branding thing.
Well, I don't think you and I are ever going to find out.
Probably not. Probably
But
not.
what we can,
Don't you have insight into the University of Cincinnati, though? You have connections there.
I do, and let me tell you, I saw this was 5, 6 years ago. I sat in with NC State's computer science department and saw the amount of money that they received in grants
Oh,
from
grant
the
money.
government, and holy cow, I
Was
was
it
knocked off
obscene?
my chair. Yeah. Yep.
Obscene.
Yep.
In certain areas, isn't there a securities program there? I think Lori,
I don't know,
William,
probably.
there's some specialty
Yeah.
areas that, yeah, I don't even want to know. As a
Yeah. You
taxpayer,
don't want to know.
I don't want to
You
know.
don't want to know. You don't want
Yeah.
to know.
But what are we going to talk about today?
All right, so we'll actually kick it off. We are continuing our series about starting your own business, how to do it without choking on water. Yes,
So,
Bob?
part deux.
Oh my gosh. I was trying to get
Ladies
past
and
that.
gentlemen, Metacasters around the world, this is entrepreneurship part deux.
Two of my least favorite words packaged together.
I know.
Yes. So we are continuing our series on things you should think about while and before you're starting your own company. Bob and I have been down this path. We have made mistakes. I already have thoughts on some of the mistakes I'm going to talk about today about branding. And I'm very passionate about branding, but I've stepped in it a couple of times and stepped in it pretty darn bad. So I'm excited to share those lessons with all of you so that you avoid those landmines that I, was hopping from one to the other on gleefully.
Hey, absolutely. Hey, before we do that, Josh, I know I keep interrupting you with the flow.
I know it's normal.
But don't we have a public service announcement to do for Kenya?
Yeah.
Can we do that?
You're just going to crowbar that in right here?
Yeah. All right, do you want to reserve it to the end?
No, it's okay. I mean, we're halfway there now with your ham-fisted approach.
Hey, Josh, can you hold up your hand for just a second? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that narrow. That string. Yeah, that string bean. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so a good friend of ours, Dr. Kenya Odor. I hope I am pronouncing it correctly, Kenya. If not, please let me know. Please give me a virtual slap in Slack. Yep, Bob will do it for you, so don't worry. She teaches a couple of classes about human-computer interaction. Again, I think I'm getting that right. But anyways, where she focuses is UX, UI, and really enabling that to be as effective as possible. And the cool thing that she does is she partners with companies to have projects where she has groups of engineering students that take that project on, build out UI, UX, they talk to customers. It's a senior project, so it's like a capstone project, I think was the word that she said. So it's very important. Everybody has to do one before they get that piece of paper that says they did all of the things. And she is looking for companies to offer up thoughts and ideas. I have worked with her in the past. It's been fantastic, both from the production of the students, but also just the opportunity to work with those students. It was a wonderful thing, and I encourage many people to take part in this. So if you would like to do that, please reach out to us on our Discord via Twitter. We will share Kenya's link to her company, ways to get in touch with her, in the show notes. So please take advantage of this. It's a wonderful thing to do and to give. Okay.
That was Josh. Nicely done.
Thank you.
What struck me is we've never really talked about it this way, but we're identifying like a friend of the cast.
We are.
We should do that in the future. Like have a little slice of if we have some news from friends of the cast. All right.
I would like to do that. We just have to find a bit more smooth way to make it happen.
Well, yeah, and trim our ham hocks that we have for hands. So,
oh gosh.
So Metacasters springing it out, branding. I want to kick it off this way, Josh.
Mm-hmm.
And this is dangerous. Me quoting someone. So Jeff Bezos, I think it's Bezos, uh, says about branding, personal branding in general,
Mhm.
is what people say about you when you're not in the room. So this is more so about your company. So what if you're an independent? What would they say about your company when you're not around? And what would they say about you when you're? I want to couple those two together. There's the company brand, and then there's the personal brand. And I think when you're an entrepreneur, when you're starting out, those two are sort of blended together. Uh, and start the branding discussion. Like sit, get quiet, turn the lights out in your room, play some Frank Sinatra, right? Play some play some Sinatra, light a candle, and then ask that question. What are people saying about me now? And the thing with Josh is, I might be saying about Josh, like he's a well, he has a well-endowed skull, he wears hats all the time, and that's about all I know about him. And that's his brand. So if he wants to pivot that, then that's our starting point. And then that's where we're moving from. React to any of that, Josh.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Yes, that is your brand, but you have control of it. And that's really
Yeah.
what this is about taking action. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm branded this. You might be branded perfectly well. But what you can't afford to do is not be intentional about it and just let it evolve as it may. So, what this episode is really about is how you can grab the reins and modify, evolve, shape your own personal and company brand so that it supports everything that you're trying to do. That's our
Oh,
goal.
yeah. Yeah, nothing negative about what I said.
Yeah.
It's an intentionality to it. That's this episode, being intentional, being thoughtful about it. A lot of people, and you know what? If you're not doing, like, you have a brand no matter whether you're trying or not.
Mhm.
As an employee, you have a brand. What do people say about you? Not in a gossipy way, but when someone says Bob Galen, when Josh and I worked at Teradata together, I had a brand. I actually, now I venture to say that I wasn't managing. I wasn't very intentional about that brand, but I had a brand. And that brand was in a context, actually. There was sort of brand confusion between the brand that I brought to the table and the brand that and what the organization wanted me to behave in that brand, etc. So there's no negativity here. It's more being intentional, being thoughtful, being craftful about your brand. So Josh, what's a tactical? Let's be tactical. What are the ways to build that brand?
One of the biggest hurdles that I see folks wrestle with this in this space is getting comfortable talking positively about oneself and like
Oh my
really positively, and a lot of good people are humble. We've been raised to be humble. All of those things throughout our society that preaches being humble, your parents, church, school, whatever it might be that help shape you, you can still be humble and still promote yourself. Those can exist in the same world, and I understand for many folks it's a new thing, it's uncomfortable, but you can't shape your brand if you're unwilling, and everybody has the skill whether you know it or not. So it's just a matter of will to be able to practice that and make that happen.
I mean, you hit me with my kryptonite right off the top, right? And you know that. That's why I was frowning, not at your point, but it's one of my kryptonite points. I still struggle with talking about myself. And to your point, I think I mean, the first hurdle, everyone, is to get over that and to be able to talk about yourself. Now, there's subtlety in that. You don't want to be an ass, right, and or obnoxious, but at the same time, I've to this day, I'm a solopreneur, I'm an entrepreneur, I've been a leader in organization, so I've seen it from all sides. I still am terribly uncomfortable talking about myself, and Josh knows. Josh has coached me on that, I think, and and I'm working on it, and I'm getting better. And I do a ton of public speaking. I do a ton of external stuff. That's not the same as talking about myself and my successes, my accomplishments, and really shining a light on me. Um, so I think it's a work in progress to, you want to, if you're like me, if it's uncomfortable, then you have to work on that. You just have to start chipping away at that. Josh, I don't, I'm trying to think of, where are you at on that spectrum? You personally?
I had to work through the humbleness, and it was a mindset. It was, no, Josh, you don't do this. That's just how I was raised. But I realized that I had to figure it out, and I had to find the right way to word it and approach it without being braggadocious or whatever term that you might think of when somebody's like, oh my God, can this person please stop talking about themselves? Right? You don't want to be that person, but you're a product and you have to sell yourself just like you're selling your favorite whatever. So you need that 30-second pitch of this is who Josh is. Think about if you're trying to start a company and people talk about having your vision and your mission and all of that, and that helps shape how you sell
Yep.
yourself and your company. So there are some foundational pieces that you can put in place that can be difficult to figure out, but once you have those, then it's just the facts. And that's where I try and stay with things is I just build on the successes that I have and use those as factual points of info that a customer can use to decide whether I'm a fit or not.
I don't, I don't know if there's, so I'll throw another one in the mix.
Yeah.
Um, I think, I'm thinking of networking. So I was an early adopter. I can't remember. I'd have to look on LinkedIn when I connected to LinkedIn. I've skipped Twitter as a political protest against the ownership of Twitter. So,
Right.
and I'm sure that has rippled through the servers to Elon and
I
affected
mean, it's
him.
hit the bottom line pretty heavy.
Yeah, that's what I. Well, weight aside, that but LinkedIn, I think I was a relatively early adopter, so I've been on LinkedIn for over 10 years. It was an intentional thing for me to build my business network on that platform. I know that platform has gotten a little squirrely. It's starting to look like Twitter-ish a little bit. I've never been a Facebook. I don't have a Facebook account, so I've never done that. But so it's starting to get a little bit away from the business, but I think it's still there. You can still leverage it as that. And it's the power of not just having my name there, but who I connect to, and then liking and how I'm reacting to things. Like I try to do a blog post a week, and I'll post it on LinkedIn. And I try to be really regular about that. I'm trying to
Mhm.
get my name out there. So Monday mornings, most weeks, I rarely miss it. I'm posting that. Um, but that's the larger footprint. The softer footprint is how I'm reacting. What am I liking? Who am I weighing in on? Who am I recommending? Who am I saying, hey, nice job? Um, getting to know get so what I'm trying to do is it's not just business networking, but I'm trying to let people know what makes Bob Galen tick. Right? What is he passionate about? What causes is he passionate about? So non-business things. And I think that's an important part of, again, it's going back to what do people say about you? It's not, but do they have something to say?
Right.
Right? You're creating things for them to say. You're creating, it's almost a persona. You're building a persona, and LinkedIn is an active part of that. Josh, any reactions to that?
Yeah. One of the things, I mean, if you go back to the last part from Bob, what are people saying about you? Well, what if they don't even know you exist? Then they can't say, then you have zero brand. And that's something that I had to figure out when I moved here from Ohio. I moved to North Carolina in like 2008, and I had a job, but I didn't know anybody. And I knew I was planning a future here in the state. So I had to find ways to get people to know that Josh Anderson was here and this is what he can do. This is where he's trying to go, all of those things. So I got very intentional with that. And what Bob hit on is that any social media that you do, the value is in consistency, that you're there. You are in front of eyeballs. And what's nice about LinkedIn is that it is targeted to the business world. There are some people that post stuff that's not business, and there are people that come out of the woodwork and comment very harshly at them. I kind of feel bad for them at times, but you do have an opportunity to establish your brand. This is what matters to me. This is what I'm thinking about. This is what I care about. And if you don't engage, then your brand doesn't exist. And if you're trying to start your own company based on your talents, your skills, your experience, you're going to have a real hard time getting that pipeline built out of potential customers.
Piling onto LinkedIn real quickly, um, and it's like that overview of who are you. So I look at LinkedIn profiles fairly frequently, and some of them are good. They really give a background, and some of them are like not good, and they're just too brief, or they're dated. Like they're referencing a job that happened they're referencing like 10 years ago. And I think to myself, gosh, you need to update. That's your presence. That's your business card to some degree. The other thing is when people have a business, their own, they're a solopreneur or whatever, or they have a small startup, I'll always check on their website and I'll just click on, well, what is their company? So this is your personal brand. What is your company brand? I'm sure I'm not odd. I'm sure people do that. And what I often find is there's even less substance. There's not substance on the personal side, and there's less substance on the business side. So like how hard is it? It's not much work to like build up those ideas in LinkedIn. So there's the reactive side and the posting side, but just spruce up your presence or pay someone for goodness sakes to do it for you. I think it matters.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
something that
A couple thoughts there. I don't. I avoid sending a resume because I don't want to update it. I don't want to maintain it, and I just say, listen, my LinkedIn profile tells you more about me than just the resume. I can send you a resume, but like start here because I've invested in trying to have this tell a story about who Josh is and
Yep.
where Josh spends his time, and you can dig in further there. So I start with that. A couple of options if writing isn't one of your things or you are uncomfortable with writing, chat gpt, as many know, that's a tool that I use. Now here's an interesting thing, Bob. I had to provide a 30-second pitch for a company I'm working with now. They were saying, hey, we have this person on board, here's what he's doing, and someone asked me for it. So because I have a brand, because of the podcast, I
Oh.
asked it to write a bio about me.
Oh, okay.
And because we have built this up over the past 14 years, it knew about me and it did a pretty damn good job. I was kind of embarrassed at how nice it was about me. So
Oh, well,
that's a tool.
I'd
Uh,
like to see that.
okay.
If you could share that with me,
Yeah.
I'd like to see it.
I
So
can,
I can bring it down to reality. Maybe
yeah,
I can
so you can
repre
chop. Uh,
it's like,
Second,
no.
Bob mentioned paying someone, and 5 years ago, I never would have done that. I would have put it on myself. And with Kazi, with my company, I hired somebody that was recommended to me to help me with my brand. And I was thinking, hey, they're going to give me a new logo, blah, blah, blah. And like, that's it. But the depth with which she worked around my entire brand of, okay, we're fixing your logo because obviously a database engineer made this logo and it's terrible, but here's something that lines up with what you're thinking. Here's a tagline that you can use. Here's how we're going to redo your entire website. I've went through every section and I've reworded it to have it make more
Yep.
sense. Again, like I'm not a skilled writer like this person was, and the difference that it made and the pride that I had with my website. Now, like, I didn't cringe when somebody says, hey, I was just on your website. It's like, ugh, like I did the best I could, but I know that's not really good. And for a reasonable investment, that I feel puts me in a better place. So knowing what you're good at and what you're not, and reaching out and getting help. And I right now I've had like 3 logos designed in the past 6 months by folks on Fiverr. So I'm paying like 50, $60, and they're doing an amazing job with these logos and everything else that goes into it. So there's a ton of resources that are out there. So get help.
Anything else on that? I was, I wanted to react. I think Steven said something, case studies, and it really inspired me. Um, and this is maybe sort of a tangent, a little bit off. This might be like an option, but thinking about as you're building your brand, think as an employee. I don't care if you're, either way, but think about your successes. And this is not a chat GPT. This is you sitting down and writing, like capturing little mini case studies, capture little mini success stories so you don't forget them. And then we talked about talking about yourself, also being able to send it to someone or putting it on a website or just putting it as part of a memoir or something that you can use later. But I really think, like, I don't do that. It's another anti-pattern for me. So talking about myself is hard, and writing about my successes is hard. Even if I'm just writing it in my journal, uh, I don't like to do it. So that makes me feel uncomfortable too. But it's like capturing you along the way, capturing, like, being intentional. What did I do? I just knocked it out of the park. Or I just did a really great job, or I brought something up to my boss that required courage, or I did this. Keep track of that stuff and then figure out ways, well, how can I communicate that better? And how can you give yourself confidence? The other thing is that if you do split off as a company, you're going to need collateral. You're going to need, as part of the sales process, you're going to need these things. Like Josh was talking about, and then you can run them through Chat GPT or whatever you want to do, but you have that.
Yeah, it's one of the tricks that I use is I do so much better in life when I take emotion out and boil it down to facts. So what I'll do is I'll look at my current or previous job and say, what wins have we had as a company? What role did I play in making that happen? And then that enables me, when I think about it like that, that enables me to not only show what I did, but show how my efforts help the company achieve new heights, new goals, or whatever it is. Because a lot of resumes and a lot of things I see people write is they recreate their job description of like, I did this, I did this, I did this. Like, okay, cool, but that's what you're supposed to do. So what are the things that move the needle for your company?
Right.
And think about the role that you played in making that happen. You undoubtedly played a role in it, but if you roll it back and think about the wins for the company, cool. Then you start zooming in on my team and me and what piece did I play to make that happen. Then it becomes like our company was acquired for $2 billion, and my team was the product team, and we transformed this and built that and did this, and that enabled our multiples to be crazy to where we got $2 billion, right? Like that was, it's just things like that where those are facts and people can look that up and validate that a company did this, and then they can see the role that you played. So you don't necessarily have to start with yourself. You can turn it backwards and start with a company and then
Yep.
really play up the piece that you had in it.
Oh, I know I'm belaboring LinkedIn, but I think it's powerful. So and it's tactical. But there's this recommendation, I think, aspect of LinkedIn where you can ask someone for a recommendation. And I'm spotty with it. So I haven't been active asking people for maybe a number of years. I used to a few years ago when I engaged a client. After I left them, I would ask them to do not the day we parted ways, but maybe a few months later or something. I would ask them for a recommendation. When I left a company, I would ask trusted partners, um, and what I found is people said things that I wouldn't have said myself.
Mhm.
And it was a real, and it was very multivariate. It was like very different perspectives. So I have like maybe 50 to 70 of them now. I've been lightweight. I probably need to go back there. But if you look, that's a wonderful, and again, as part of my sales process, I'm like, look at my presence. Part of my sales process nowadays is I'm out there. If you looked at my LinkedIn profile, you can get a sense, do I want to work with this this ass Bob Callen or not? You can get a real sense for my brand. And so I'm kind of proud of that, right? By my writing, by the Metacast, you can get a sense, and that's incredibly helpful. Not only in who it attracts to you, but who who it repels from you as well. So I don't have to like deal with people who aren't really serious about working with me. It just auto repels those folks. So
Yeah.
so look, that part of LinkedIn can be very powerful. So don't be shy about asking people to do that, and then reflect on what they say and why they said it.
Every dollar I've made with Kazi has come from some form of content that I have created. If it was back in the day doing the live streams on Twitch, which, yes, Stephen, we're going to get back to just the content that we create here, to posts on LinkedIn, all of that. Every dollar that I've made has been associated with the content that is created. So it is your best marketing. As I launched Kazi, I sales was not my thing. It's not a world that I lived in for, I didn't live in it. I was an engineer. So I hired a sales company to do a thing. And like, okay, I know I can't do this. I'm going to farm it out. I'm going to trust people that do this on a regular basis. And after 4 months of them telling me like, hey, you just gotta let the machine work. You gotta let the machine work. Because I was like, how many thousands am I spending every month? And you keep telling me it's going to happen. Like, just get me one lead. And I ended up pulling the plug on it because I got leads from the work that I was putting in. So you can make that happen with good investments. Now, some of the mistakes that I made along the way, I want to make sure folks hear this is I went like brand crazy and I overdid it. I created my company, and so I created all the social media accounts for my company, and I started posting everything into those accounts that had like 4 followers, and I think all of them were friends and family. And because I wanted to have a separate presence, I wanted the company to be the company and Josh to be Josh. But reality is the company is Josh. And I already had a following on various channels, and I should have invested there and built it out that way instead of starting with like, hey, here's this new thing that no one knows about. And I kept in my own feed trying to tell people about it, but it's not the same. So keeping the content tied to me, which is why when all these things that we do in LinkedIn, yes, there's a Kazi account and a Kazi page, but I keep it broadcasting here with Josh because in LinkedIn, that's what people know. That's where the thousands of followers are. So I stick with that. But there were some hard lessons learned where I put a ton of effort, created a ton of content, and posted it for no one. And then I was, had to wake up and be like, what are you doing? Like, you have thousands over here and a dozen over here. What are you doing? But it was that like, I want to keep this separate, but you're selling you. So be you.
Well, I want to pile on to that. It's a you may have like this business side and this personal side, and if you're inside the company, you can have a company side. Outside, creating your own company, but you want to lean into. My advice would be strongly what Josh said: is lead with your personal, lead with you. Right? It's about you. Don't and as you talked about that, Josh, so I didn't see that coming as you did that because you're the tech guy to me. So
Yeah.
I look at you in awe. Like whatever you do is right technically. But now that you're saying it, I saw that as you were evolving, you were diluting things and
Yep.
stuff, and you were losing your way, and that's absolutely wrong. And the other thing is you lost sight of who is your so Metacasters. You are the brand, you. And this is why I'm so damned uncomfortable talking about me, right? But I have to, because I need to build myself. Like, what do people say about you? It's not agile. So I have R. Galen. A mistake I made is doing everything myself early on. And Josh taught. So listen to Josh. Don't be cheap. Pay a few things. It's not that costly. And it's exists to this day, is my company name. I think I need a drum roll, for goodness sake. Is R. Galen Consulting Group LLC. Everyone wake up now, because I know that made you sleep. What the hell was I thinking? Oh, this is bright. R for Robert, Galen Consulting Group, LL. So, and that was silly. Now, I guess the good news is my personal brand
Yeah.
sort of rose above the stupidity of that. Nowadays, I also have this alter ego called Agile Moose,
Right.
and I feel much better with the Agile Moose. It allows me stories, etc. And again, I went out to get some help with that. The other thing with your brand is find something. Josh and I disagree. He algorithmically picked Kazi. I think it was, it was a language, and I'm not. I am picking on him.
I can explain.
But again, mine Agile Moose. But my point with the Agile Moose I wanted to make is it's almost like a totem for me. It's like it represents me. It makes me smile. It gives me energy. People ask me uh, why Agile Moose. It gives me entry.
Mhm.
No one ever asked me about our Galen Consulting Group,
Yeah.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
right? So think about creativity with the branding. Ask people for help with the branding, but it's all about you.
Yeah. And I used to give Bob so much crap about the logo for R. Galen,
Oh,
because it was this like classic 1990s blue curvy thing. Like it doesn't communicate anything. It's like
no, it doesn't.
insert standard company logo with a name and like a blue swoosh around it or something. It was just like,
Yeah.
what is that? What does that
What is that?
represent? You know?
I know.
So
I still have boxes of business cards around that, Josh. If you want me to give them to you.
yeah. So I struggled with like naming and what do I do? And it was important to me to have a name that meant something. And I was talking with Todd Olson, who's one of the founders at Pendo. And it just came like we were talking through a couple of different things, and it came up about the Pendo name and where it came from. And he explained that in some other language it meant something that meant something to him, and he liked it. It was short, he could get the domain, and it was quick and easy. So I went on, like I spent like a month going through words that meant something to me on Google Translate and seeing if there was something that I like, something that hit me that was short. And that's where I landed with Kazi. In Swahili, that's the word for work. And so with my focus of trying to make work better for everybody, I invested in that. Oh, and by the way, it's 4 letters and the domain's available. So that was a no-brainer. Uh, but to Bob's point, I have to explain that. It means something to me. It's not like Agile Moose where you can begin to visualize things. I've got this relatively random word for my customers that doesn't really mean anything to them. So I think I could have done better there with an investment like Bob has with his moose and the moose herd and all those things that he does, where I think that could be more useful.
One thing, getting back to you, Metacasters, it is about you. It's all about you. But now, one of those quintessential rock bands, The Who, it's who are you? All joking aside, I want you to go deep. I recommend that you go deep on understanding who are you. So below the branding, who are you? What are your strengths? Right. And being able to articulate that. Who are you? Who do you want to be? And don't be superficial on that. And Josh, we've talked about this, I think, on the Metacast before. Like drilling in, and you can change your who are you. You can discover that you can go in different directions. But it's go. What? Okay. Sorry.
That's
Uh,
okay. The dogs.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like that, get real about and go deep on who are you. React. I want to hear your reaction
And
to that,
and
Josh.
and don't be shy. Right? You are special. There's something about you that is unique. Find that thing. Find what you do really well. Hopefully you also like it. Like that's a bonus. That's kind of a requirement, but there's something special there. You have succeeded because of your unique gifts. Lean into that. Use them. Use those as your rocket fuel for you to take off. But if you're unwilling to highlight those for people to understand, then your rocket's not going to go very far. But you have this giant vat of rocket fuel. You just have to find it and then keep using it over and over again.
Oh my God, you're on fire, my friend. Holy, no, you are. I'm jazzed up. Yeah, there. No, find that and amplify it, and everyone has it. Just what Josh said. We need to sort of pull that out as a little snippet for the Metacast,
We
Josh.
can snip.
All right. I want to, building on that, I want to talk. I think another thing, branding, is think of yourself as like, what is your service sheet? Right? What services are you offering? And this directly connects to who are you? And what do you want to be? I'm Agile Moose. What's my identifier? What's my totem? Where's my energy come from? I'm a rocket. And again, this is not just your company. You should be this rocket inside your company, right? You should be burning. You should be leaving crispy critters around behind you. But then, what is your service offering sheet? What does a service look like? What are the packages you're going to do as part of a service? Well, what's in it for me? Like, how would you sell it? How would you sell it? What's the ROI for that? And just go through that exercise of I am a service. I talk to agile coaches. There's a and I wrote a blog post about this once, and some folks at Fidelity were using it, and I think they were doing it before. So I heard from them, and they said, "Yeah, we pivoted," and they're describing their coaching. As a year ago, they weren't really they were a coaching firm, so their brand was "We do coaching." But we're like the McDonald's of coaching. You roll up and you yell into the speaker and you get a coach, and there you roll up to the window and they throw an agile coach or coaches in a bag, and they give it to you. And that was sort of the branding. That was sort of the service offering. And then they themselves started thinking about, that's not working. It's not working for the coaches. It's not clear. It's not working for the clients. It's not clear as to what we do and what we don't do. And then they went through like a service brainstorming session, and they started really identifying this is what we do, and mapping it to the business, mapping it to the customer, mapping it to impact. And they changed it. I think that made a fundamental difference in how they were interacting. And to me, that's a branding exercise. Before, we're an agile coach. That's a very generic brand, and you're going to get very generic outcomes. But good news is everyone's going to come to you, right? I guess, but you're not going to maybe get good results. Uh, then fast forward, this is what we do. We do leadership coaching. We do team coaching. We don't do metrics, or we don't do metrics in this area. And this maybe is why, etc. And you really start being clear about it. We pair with people. This is an area of specialty. If you really want us to get excited, this is an area that we're like. This is our superpower area. Josh, what do you think about that idea?
It stabs me in the heart because I made that same mistake. I was an agile coach for hire. What does that mean? It means a million different things to different people. I did a poor job of expressing the value that I can add. Over time, I figured that out, and in the last year, as I've really started to understand myself and spent a lot of time thinking about all of the things that I've done and what makes me happiest, I've been able to steer my customer base towards the thing that I enjoy the most. And so providing that clarity right out of the gate of saying, this is who I am, this is what I provide, this is what an engagement looks like, that has really affected the pipeline that I have. That now there's actually a pipeline, whereas before it wasn't really. I would just kind of stumble along and find the next one, fingers crossed it was going to be in time. So that's a thing again that I didn't do a good enough job of, and Bob told me that, but I didn't know how to make it happen for myself. So this is one of those things where get help. Just as Bob talked about, they went through this whole process and they did brainstorming to figure it out. It's not sitting there just like waiting for you to pick it up and post on a website. You have to do some real hard work to figure all of that out. One of the things
What
that
do
we're
we?
talking about is, so I just want to make a comment on a comment that Stephen said, like, even if you aren't starting your own business, you have a brand. You have to work on it now. That will enable you to get the next job, or if you want to break off and do your own thing. So this isn't just about, hey, I want to start my own gig. This is for everybody that's out there. Investing in this will only empower your success as time goes on, because again, you go back to, you'll be able to positively speak about yourself and all of those things that you've done. Your resume will get better. Your LinkedIn profile will get better. People will start to just find you naturally because of the content that you're creating. So that changes the game.
I want to. So yes, I'm yes ending you today a lot, Josh, but I want to kick people in the butt. You have a fiduciary responsibility to build your brand. If you're not doing it, shame on you. Damn, for you, for yourself, for your family, for your career. In fact, sitting on your butt is building your brand. What do they say about you when you're not in the room? Bob Galen Bob Galen does a great job of sitting on his ass, right? Or pontificating in the Metacast and overwhelming Josh. No, but you're doing it. So intentionally build it. It's crucial for your career. I think it's more important from an inside perspective than it is from an outside perspective. It's important in both ways,
Yeah.
but do that.
It,
Can I throw? Go ahead, Josh.
I just want to, yes, and that in Bob style. To me, it's a control thing. I don't want to let control of where my career goes.
Yep.
If I'm not doing it, it's happening to me. And I'm not comfortable leaving that chance of, maybe it'll turn out good, maybe it won't. So I'm going to grab the wheel and drive the brand truck wherever I want to take it. Yes, it's a big, heavy truck, not because I'm a big guy, but because it's effort to make all this happen. It's additional things that you're not doing now. So it's new investment in creating things and connecting and updating all of your stuff, but it really pays off. I'm not sure of other investments you could make personally that would have the return on the investment over the length of your career. Like, I'm not sure what else you could do that would be more.
I would agree. I want to throw like an elephant that we don't always we sort of deflect it. You and I do this, Josh. I throw in writing, and you're like, but I don't like to write.
Mhm.
Then ChatGPT came around, and it's like, oh, now I'm a writer. I'm Ernest Hemingway. I'm kidding, right? So, so and that. But I think I'm recommending that as part of brand building, you need to work on your communication. Damn it, you don't have to become an orator like a Barack Obama speech giver or anything like that. But you have to work. So to build a brand, you have to communicate your brand. You have to work on your writing skills, both your personal writing skills, your professional writing skills. You have to work on your public speaking. You have to work on your ability to communicate. I've never attended Toastmasters, but I've heard people just really sort of be inspired by Toastmasters as a way to practice the craft of communication. What I'm throwing on the table is, over time, I've noticed that folks are like, I don't like it or I'm not good at it. So they like sort of, they're declining and then the tools have come in and it's like, oh, now I can use that. Yes, you can, but don't. You need to do the hard work of figuring out writing and getting a writing style over time. It may take 5 years, whatever it is, but be relentless about it. Be a better public speaker. Part of what I need to do is not how do I talk about myself if I'm not comfortable, and then if I'm not an effective communicator? So I have to work on that. So I know that's almost everyone I talk to, that's a challenge, and they want to shut down on it, right? Don't shut down. That's a crucial part, and you don't have to be perfect. So don't pick on yourself. Just get better one day at a time. Work on it and be that effective communicator that you can be. Find your personal style and then be relentless with it.
Agreed. I had to find mine. I at the time, blogs were the things you did. And then I become friends with this guy that, is like Alexander Hamilton and never stops writing, just like blog after blog after blog. And the number of times we've done a podcast and he's like, oh, I've written a blog post about that. I think he's 100% for every one we've ever had. He's had at least one post about it. And so I tried to do that, and I really did. And I've got books on writing. I've read various things on how to get better. What I found as this medium became more popular across the board, I found that I enjoy video and audio more. So I get excited about doing the thing. It isn't a chore, and I'm just more comfortable. Whether I communicate clearly or not, you could probably argue with me, and maybe I'm blind to the fact that, hey, Josh, you're actually a good writer. You just don't trust it, and you like making videos more, so you do that. While yes, I'm sure some of that is right, but the fact that I like doing it, which means I do it more often, has been the thing that's helped me.
How'd we do, Josh? What do you think?
We
cover it? Did we miss a major? I don't feel like we missed a major point at all.
I don't know.
We could talk about this for a while.
Yeah. I hope somebody tells us if we did. If not, that's okay. You can let us know in the comments on YouTube. You can hit us up on Twitter. You can find us on LinkedIn, since that's a thing. I'll undoubtedly post about this episode once it's up and live, so you have the opportunity to listen to it there and say like, hey, I really wish you guys dug into this. So you have plenty of opportunities to dig in and help us deliver any more content that we should around this topic.
I have a stick a fork in it idea or challenge to everyone. And the challenge is put a little Google survey together and send it to your universe and maybe have one question in it. Have an open-ended paragraph. How would you describe my brand? That's it. And send it to, you can parse it out: professional, personal, both, however you want to do it.
Interesting.
And then look at that, because that's your brand. Yeah. And actually keep that question minimalistic, because I just want folks to, what are they thinking?
Yeah.
Now that's your brand. And we talked about intentional. Now work on your branding, right? And if you're doing networking or, like LinkedIn and things like that, you can change your audience. Then 3 months from now, send it out again. Maybe to a different population, maybe to the same population. What's my brand? Look for trending. Hey, is it getting, and in the meantime, identify what you want your brand to be, right? Identify what your brand is and how am I tracking and how am I tracking? I would challenge all of you to become brand smiths, and that you're checking it on an interval in a very generic way, and then sort of narrowing that over time. Make some adjustments. Intuit what you're, intuit the responses and figure out what you do. Josh, thoughts about that? We good?
I mean, I can't add it. It's like we just got to put the cherry on top right now.
That's a cherry. All right.
Yeah.
So from beautiful downtown Cary, North Carolina,
and slightly more beautiful downtown Fuquay Varina, North Carolina,
I'm Bob Galen.
I'm Josh Anderson.
Shake
and bake.
Take care, y'all. There was just some smarty pants things running through my head, Josh, and I'm learning as I get older to shut up.
You're
Not very often, not very often, but I'm working on it.
you're a better
Hey
human than I
everyone,
am.
take good care, everyone.
All right, see ya.